Have you ever heard an angel cry? This is not a metaphor or a sermon. This is exactly what thousands of people claim to have seen with their own eyes and ears in the skies above Texas. It was an ordinary summer day, one of those days when the sky seems too blue to conceal a threat. But there was something different in the air that day. The heat was stifling, the clouds seemed motionless, and then silence. A thick silence, as if the whole world had held its breath for a moment that lasted an eternity. Then there was a noise. It wasn't thunder or a plane. It was a distorted trumpet sound, deep and charged with urgency. And when people looked up, they saw something not everyone could accurately describe. An immense, luminous shape that seemed to have wings. Some said it was a cloud shaped like an angel. Others swore they saw glowing eyes. But the feeling that united all these stories was the same: terror, wonder. Something, or someone, was trying to speak to the earth. What if it's not just Texas? What if the whole sky in every corner of America was trying to tell us something, and we, too distracted, weren't listening? What happened that day wasn't limited to viral videos and conspiracy theories. The next day, emergency sirens blared throughout Houston. But this wasn't a test. Buffalo Bayou overflowed its banks in minutes. What should have been a normal storm turned into a historic flood, submerging entire neighborhoods. The weather seemed to react to this celestial event as if it were part of a cosmic spectacle, a sign in the sky, a catastrophe on Earth. A coincidence? It is difficult not to notice the parallels with what is written in the Gospel of Luke. There will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars. On the earth, there will be fear among the nations, trembling, and a roaring of the sea and a roaring of the wave. Could this simply be a poetic repetition of ancient times? Or are we witnessing with our own eyes a prophecy being fulfilled in real time? In the following days, what seemed like a single event began to multiply like a silent epidemic. In Colorado, the sky turned blood red at dusk, and it wasn't a beautiful sunset, but an unnatural and intense hue that blanketed the sky for hours. Weather stations mentioned fine particles, as if dust could explain such a prophetic hue. In Kansas, rural residents began reporting a distant noise coming from deep underground, similar to an old-fashioned gear shift. That same week, earthquakes were reported in areas where they are rare. Could tectonic plates be responding to the same signal? And it's not just nature that seems agitated. Even animals are reacting strangely. Herds of cows flee in despair. Flocks of birds disappear into nothingness. Dogs bark at the sky in the middle of the night. What are they feeling that we don't understand? Almost symbolically, a century-old church in Mississippi suddenly caught fire. There was no storm, no power outage, no forced entry. The fire started exactly where the altar had been. The congregation's pastor, visibly shaken, said in an interview, "It was as if someone invisible was cleaning the place up, as if we had been warned." And at that moment, doubt begins to cry out louder than the signs themselves. Are we witnessing the beginning of something divine, or the harbinger of a great spiritual collapse? Authorities are trying to quell the chaos with technical explanation, but even science is beginning to falter. An astrophysicist at the University of Illinois, who requested anonymity, acknowledged that the frequency of anomalous phenomena has doubled in the past 18 months. And that's unprecedented, not on such a synchronized scale. Either we don't understand it, he said, or we'll understand it too late. But the most disturbing part was yet to come. A total solar eclipse that covered part of the northeastern United States was accompanied, according to eyewitnesses, by a noise similar to metallic breathing in the sky. No aircraft were detected on radar. No weather balloons were launched. But dozens of videos captured the sound and the sensation that the sky was alive, as if watching us. Many perceive all this as mass hysteria, but we cannot ignore the fact that such hysteria is growing among those who have never been religious, who have never gazed at the sky with wonder. And now, something has changed. Questions that once seemed ridiculous have become unavoidable. What if the heavens really spoke? What if all this was just the last warning? Before a collapse that would no longer be symbolic, but real, archives pile up, witnesses multiply, and explanations disappear. Only unease remains, the feeling that something is pulling the strings behind the scenes, that we are being groomed or judged, or both. Because what happened in Texas was only the first blow, the faintest sound of an apocalyptic symphony that seems to be gaining in volume. And if you think this is all just a coincidence, just wait until you see what the sky has in store for you in the next few chapters. Undetectable sounds, colors the atmosphere shouldn't produce, unexplained deaths, metallic noises in the skies over New York, underground echoes in Nevada, and a phenomenon in Los Angeles that even NASA hasn't dared to explain. But before I reveal all that, stop for a moment and think. If the sky spoke, would you recognize its voice? See you in the next part. And I'm warning you, what happens next will change the way you see the world. What would you do if you opened your window and saw that the sky was no longer blue, but blood red? Not at dusk, not because of the pollution, but in the middle of a clear day, as if the atmosphere were tinged with the supernatural. This is what happened to hundreds of people in Colorado Springs. Ordinary people going about their daily lives, teachers, mechanics, housewives, students, stopped their activities to look up at the sky, trying to understand what they were seeing. The video showed entire families standing silently on the sidewalk. No screaming, no hysteria, just a profound silence, like that of someone who has just witnessed something that disrupts their routine. The sky looked wounded, and when the earth bleeds, it doesn't ask for help. She answers. In recent months, a series of extreme events has struck American soil with such absurd frequency that even the most experienced meteorologists have begun avoiding interview. 90 mph winds in states where hurricanes were previously unheard of, unexpected frosts in southern Alabama, snow falling in the middle of the Arizona desert. Imagine waking up in mid-June to find your backyard covered in a thin layer of white snow, as if time had forgotten its passing. In Flagstaff, a woman reported going to buy a newspaper to find her yard completely frozen, even though it shouldn't have been cold. "It feels like the weather has gone crazy," she said. But has the weather really gone crazy? Or is it increasingly demanding our attention? In New York City, the noise of the streets was interrupted by something no engineer could explain, a sound coming from the tops of skyscrapers, a long, vibrating metallic sound that lasted more than 2 minutes, deafening to the thousands of people recording, their eyes raised. Helicopters? No. Sirens? Neither. The sound seemed out of place, as if it belonged to another world, a world trying to communicate with our own. And it wasn't just New York, Kansas, Nebraska, Montana. Similar sounds were being heard simultaneously in completely different places, seemingly unrelated, but all produced the same effect: a collective shudder, a nameless anguish, an ancestral fear. But perhaps most alarmingly, even the water has begun to show signs of trouble. In Mississippi, coastal residents awoke to find hundreds of dead fish floating on the surface. The water was tinged red. The official explanation was an algal bloom, but local residents claimed they'd never seen anything like it, even in their decades of living there. Some knelt by the river's edge, others prayed, because to them, this wasn't biological. It was a sign, a warning. On the California coast, tourists were shocked by the thick black foam washed up by the wave. The smell was strange, reminiscent of iron and sulfur. Children began vomiting. The next day, dead marine animals were found. The beach was closed. No clear explanation was provided. Do you think the same? These are not simple events. It's a model, a growing series of anomalies that defy not only science, but also everyday logic. And it affects ordinary people, not just conspiracy theorists or believers, but also mothers who are unsure whether to send their children to school for fear that something might happen. Farmers who see their harvests stagnate even in normal time. Teenagers who share videos of strange skies, as if sharing a dark secret that no one wants to reveal. A young woman from Texas named Elena posted a video of herself crying. She recounts that, during a night storm, she heard a noise coming from the sky that brought her to her knees. She says it wasn't just a noise, but a presence that seemed to compress the air around her. Elena had no religion or beliefs until that moment. The video now ends with a phrase that has spread like wildfire: I think God is trying to wake us up, but no one wants to open their eyes. In Detroit, a sudden thunderstorm knocked out all the lights during a church service. In the darkness, the pastor continued to preach until the entire church began to shake. A gentle but steady shaking, as if something were moving underground. People ran. Strangest thing? No earthquake was recorded in the area. Nothing was registered by the censor. Nothing showed up on seismic maps. But dozens of people felt it together. Could these physical manifestations be mere reflections of something spiritual that has passed into the invisible? What if, instead of natural disasters, we saw the world's reaction to our disconnection from the divine? And that's not all. In Alaska, local tribes reported that the stars were dancing strangely, that the night sky had changed. Astronomers laughed, but a week later, a magnetic anomaly was detected at the pole. Coincidence? Or were these people so sensitive to Earth? The first to notice something was wrong. In Florida, even road signs are melting from the unseasonable heat. Literally. Photos show signs folded like paper, victims of a sun that seems closer, more relentless, more alive. We are so busy trying to get back to normal that we ignore the fact that normal may have left us forever. Do you also feel this tension? That strange, almost instinctive feeling that something is about to happen, but no one knows what. You don't need to believe in prophecies to know that the wind has changed, that the earth is restless, that the sky seems to have meaning. All of nature acts as if it's preparing for something. And the scariest thing is, we may be the only ones who haven't changed yet. Because when the sky cries, the earth responds. If the sky bleeds, the water becomes contaminated. When the heavens groan, all creation trembles. And you? Do you still think this is all a coincidence? Maybe it's time to stop and listen. Not with your ears, but with your mind. Because what's coming won't be just another piece of news. It will be personal. We will knock on your door. Maybe it's already beating. And if you feel like something is wrong, you are not alone. Thousands of people across the country are aware that something is happening right before our eyes. A prophetic puzzle is silently coming together, piece by piece, while most people sleep. But you are not here by chance. If you've watched the video so far, then deep down you feel something is happening, and that's just the beginning. The most important question now is, are you ready for what's next? If this video got you thinking, please like it and share it with anyone who needs a boost. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Here we will continue to reveal what many are still afraid to show, because the days of ignoring the signs are over. See you soon in the next part. Attention, the earth has spoken, but what's moving now comes from below. Imagine walking through a remote canyon, surrounded by ancient rocks, and suddenly stumbling upon a perfectly carved structure that shouldn't be there. No notes, no explanation, just a presence. This is exactly what happened to an independent expedition to the heart of the Grand Canyon. In a rocky crevice far from the beaten path, the group discovered an underground chamber. Inside were drawings and artifacts carved into the rock, but not in the Native American style. The symbols evoked another culture that, by all historical logic, should not exist. Paleo-Hebrew writing, statues with Egyptian features, and a six-pointed star, identical to the one described in the Old Testament. Have you ever wondered why there are still so many restricted areas at the Grand Canyon today? The discovery, of course, was hushed up. There was no official coverage, no newspaper published headlines, but videos recorded by the researchers themselves and leaked online clearly demonstrate the site's existence. The government sealed off the area less than 48 hours later. No explanation was provided. If Jewish relics exist on American soil, does that change everything we know about history? Or is history as we know it an edited narrative, carefully constructed to hide the truth from us? What if I told you that this isn't the only embarrassing discovery to have taken place on American soil? In Utah, amateur archaeologists have discovered stones bearing inscriptions that do not belong to any known language, at least not officially. However, A group of alternative linguists has noted similarities with ancient Phoenician symbols. Others have found similarities with pre-Scandinavian rune. No academic expert has dared to confirm this, but the pattern is clear. Artifacts that do not fit the generally accepted chronology are buried where there should be nothing. Seat. Now, answer me honestly. Why are these discoveries not attracting attention? Why are they being hushed up? Perhaps the truth is much stronger than the lies that underpin the comfort of the modern world. But not all is buried. There are signs in the sky. Literally. Astronomers have recently been intrigued by a series of celestial formations. It all started with a tubular cloud over Wisconsin, stretching for miles, perfectly cylindrical, like a scroll unfolding before our eyes. The image went viral, but few realized it directly referenced the description in Revelation 6:14. The heavens were rolled up like a scroll, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Coincidence or message? What if the sky could reproduce in real time what was written thousands of years ago? Why now? A few days later, the northern lights appeared over southern Arkansas. Yes, Arkansas, the state where the phenomenon occurred. Never. The recording was so intense. Residents reported a silent dance of colors, from purple to fluorescent green, above their crops. Some reported a faint buzzing coming from above, like muffled singing. Others said it was a calling. Do you think the heavens can sing? If that sounds unbelievable, consider this. In less than 3 months, 3 partial eclipses occurred in the American Midwest, all in areas where anomalous phenomena had previously been recorded. All were accompanied by power outages, radio interference, and reports of bright objects in the sky. And as the eyes rise, a whisper comes from the basement. Geologists have discovered a new chain of caves beneath the Appalachian Mountains, the walls of which feature hexagonal structure. No natural formation creates such perfect geometric shapes, with millimeter-level symmetry. Yet, they were there. Moreover, once mapped, these caves align perfectly with the constellations of Orion and Sirius, the very ones ancient cultures venerated during rituals of communication with higher beings. Why is an underground cave shaped like a constellation? Or more precisely, who built it and why? The most common answer is always the same. It's impossible. But when reality defies possibility, perhaps the impossible is the truth. These places exist. The signs exist. The question is, are we prepared for what they mean? Meanwhile, in a Georgia forest reserve, a surveillance camera captured a strange phenomenon. For 3 consecutive nights, the vegetation glowed, not by reflection, but with a blue phosphorescent glow. Entire plants seemed to be breathing at a different pace, as if driven by an invisible force. Could creation itself be reacting to something that we cannot yet see? Speaking of reactions, the number of small earthquakes in the center of the country has increased by 34% in the last 6 months. The ground is moving slowly, as if something were awakening underground. Small vibration, almost imperceptible but constant, as if the earth were preparing itself. If we only talked about natural phenomena, we would not be so afraid of facing. But what if deep down in the soul, there were not only archaeological, astronomical, or geological data? What if it was spiritual? What if the stones cried out, as Jesus predicted, when people refused to acknowledge the truth? The Bible speaks of signs in heaven, on earth, and under the earth. All this is happening now, at the same time, in the same country. Do you still think this is all a coincidence? Or are we approaching something much bigger? Something that will divide the world between those who were ready and those who mocked it to the end? The questions are piling up. The evidence is clear, but most continue to sleep. Perhaps, just perhaps, the signs are not given to those who wait, but to those who wake up. And if you're still here searching, you've already begun to wake up. But what happens next will test your faith, your logic, and your endurance, because not everything that moves is visible. And not all signs will be beautiful. If you feel something taking shape, parts of the invisible coming into the open, don't ignore that feeling. Please like this video and share it with those who don't see the signs yet. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the rest. Because what is about to be revealed will shake not only the earth, but your very concept of reality. Have you ever felt like something invisible was manipulating events, as if the world had become a stage, and someone behind the scenes was orchestrating every detail, every crisis, every audience reaction, with surgical precision? In recent months, as the sky rumbles and the earth groans, a silent, almost imperceptible movement has begun to manifest itself. It is not accompanied by earthquakes or the northern lights. It is not heralded by angel-shaped clouds, but it is manifest in political decisions, in the carefully chosen words of influential leaders, in social media algorithms, and, above all, in churches. And that is perhaps the most dangerous thing, because when the world is in crisis, many turn to science. But when your mind trembles, where do you look? A private report from the Pew Research Center indicates that the number of practicing Christians in the United States has declined by 16% over the past 5 years. These aren't die-hard atheists or agnostics searching for answers. These are people who have simply given up. They have lost their faith. They have emptied their ranks. Not because God doesn't exist, but because there are too many distractions, scandals, and controversies within the church itself. And this is where the real battle begins. While people seek signs in heaven and on earth, a silent war rages in the churches. Diluted doctrine, motivational sermons without a cross, pastors more interested in sympathy than conversion. And in the midst of it all, an entire generation is growing up without any spiritual filter. How can we recognize the truth when even those who should proclaim it have become blind? To break, breathe. Now, look around you. Have you noticed how the discourse has changed? How did some religious leaders come to advocate ideas that increasingly fit a single, standardized, and practical way of thinking, but which have no biblical roots? This is no coincidence. It is strategically important. Deception always comes disguised as light, and preparing for the future isn't done with bombs and tanks, but with words, control, seduction. Over the past 18 months, at least 76 sightings of luminous shapes in the sky have been reported in the United States alone. In Nevada, one of them remained visible for 11 minutes. The press described it as an atmospheric reflection, but thousands of people reported hearing words, even though no one could repeat them. A strange language? A mental transmission? What really happened in that sky? In trying to decipher these signals, an even more disturbing phenomenon emerges: the emergence of a new political and spiritual movement, a new party that claims neither right nor left, but rather a collective vision. Name: American Party. And one of the main creators, Elon Musk. It's not just about politics. The symbols used in the group's documents have an obvious esoteric connotation: a snake coiled around a ball with eyes in the center. Sound familiar? Yes, the ancient symbol of the Order of Illumination. And the motto? United in truth, elevated by technology, illuminated by reason. Beautiful and powerful phrases, but for those familiar with the prophecy, they sound dangerously familiar. In just 4 weeks, the movement has gathered more than 12 million followers. This is not a coincidence. It is a preparation. Revelation 13 describes a figure who will unite people, bring promises of peace and progress, and captivate multitudes until he reveals himself. And what is the most disturbing thing? He's not a bad guy. He comes as a savior. Meanwhile, the churches are divided. Half of the respondents believe that all this is exaggerated. The other half feels it, but doesn't know how to react. And in this vacuum of discernment, false teachers appear. People who call themselves messenger, chosen one, the last voice. A Kentucky man attracted 30,000 followers in less than 2 months by promising them supernatural protection. He claimed to be the reincarnation of the prophet Elijah. He was arrested, but not for fraud, to incite panic, because during the service, dozens of believers lost consciousness simultaneously. There is no apparent medical reason. The FBI launched an investigation, but the secret report was never released. To break, are you starting to see a pattern? Manipulation isn't limited to headline. This manifests itself in distorted prophecies, perverted doctrines, and blind leadership, while the population, frightened by cosmic phenomena, desperately searches for someone who can make sense of this chaos. And guess who shows up? Spiritual artificial intelligence called Lucidity launched quietly by a startup funded by 5 major banks. Lucidia offers spiritual guidance via an app. It uses passages from the Bible, analyzes emotional patterns, and creates personalized prayers based on your digital vibe. Sounds like science fiction? It already exists. In fact, influential pastors are promoting it on social media as God's tool for modern time. Are we replacing the Holy Spirit with algorithms? Spiritual warfare is no longer a metaphor. In apps, in sermons, in the calculating smiles of world leaders. And all this in a context of growing collective fear. Fear of the sky, fear of the earth, and now, fear of oneself. Because the truth is, we are divided, not between believers and non-believers, but between vigilance and distraction. And the more distractions there are, the more opportunities there are for deception. No more room for the one who will come. And yes, he will come, and find empty hearts, silent churches, and a humanity ready to accept anything except the truth. Perhaps this is the time to ask ourselves, are you really ready? Will your faith survive the collapse of everything you know? Can you recognize the truth when it seems more terrible than a comforting lie? If you've made it this far, it's probably because there's still something beating inside you. Something inside you knows that this battle can be won not with argument, but with positioning. Like this video, share it with those who still can't believe it, and subscribe to the channel now. Because in the next part, we will reach the limit, the moment when heaven, earth, and spirit unite. And when that happens, there's no going back. Take a deep breath. Now look around you. Everything seems the same. The chair you're sitting on, the room you're looking out of, the street outside your window, the people going about their business. But what if I told you the world you thought you knew no longer exists? Something has changed, silently but profoundly, and there's no going back. Throughout this journey, we experience a series of events together that, individually, may seem random, but together, they form a haunting, almost prophetic narrative. Sounds in the sky, strange lights, panicked animals, archaeological discoveries, silence, churches cracking from within, a new digital messianism masquerading as intelligence, and an artificial intelligence masquerading as a spirit guide. All this is happening right now. And it's no longer a matter of predicting, but of observing. The question that resonated insistently from the beginning, are we witnessing signs of the end or signs of a new beginning? And maybe the answer is both, for every ending is, by nature, a beginning. And it is not the world itself that ends here, but the veil that covered it, the veil of distraction, of arrogance, of the false security we have built on data, screens, and theories that have distanced us from what matters most. The truth that the heavens have always spoken, we have forgotten how to listen to it. The truth is that the earth has always grown, but we have learned to muffle that noise with concrete. The truth that the mind has always sought, and we have traded it for shiny labels, algorithms, and convenient doctrine. Now, it all comes back to the surface, and don't be afraid, but to shake us up. You see, signs aren't there to punish us. They're warnings, they're opportunities. They remind us that the invisible is more real than the visible. Lights in the sky, dead fish, metallic clangs, divided churches, weakened faith. Every detail, every event adds up to a narrative that demands a response, a decision, a stand. There is no longer any need to ask, is it true? Now the question arises, what are you going to do with this truth? Because you were called. Yes, among billions of people, you are here, right now, finishing a series of content that thousands of people may never see clearly. This is no coincidence. It's called, And Before You Doubt, Stop and Think. How many times have you felt like something was wrong, even though everything looked fine on paper? How many times have you looked up at the sky and felt like it was looking back at you? How many times have you woken up feeling like time is running out, but no one knows where to go from here? These signs, in heaven, on earth, and within us, are like silent trumpets. And most importantly, It may not be visible. Perhaps this is the impulse you feel now, a mixture of anxiety and clarity, as if everything made sense and at the same time demanded something of you. Maybe this is a real sign. It's not what happens outside that matters, but what is awakening inside. Well, now you know. And who knows, maybe it will never return to its previous state. You are not alone. Thousands of people are waking up just like you, disparate, sometimes alone, but connected by something greater than words. That's why this channel exists. We won't give you easy answers here, but we ask tough questions. We don't promise comfort, but clarity. And we don't want to hold you back. We want to prepare you. So if this journey means something to you, if something moved you, if you saw the truth in the signs that most people still don't see, give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Tell us how you felt. What moved you? What woke you up? And first of all, subscribe, because the next revelation is closer than you think. And when that happens, you'll want to be one of those who were prepared. Thank you for coming this far with us. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for not sleeping. And don't forget, when the final sign is revealed, perhaps it comes neither from heaven nor from earth. Maybe it comes from within you. See you in the next video, and keep your eyes open.